everybody. This is Hal, Quail Studios Guitar. Welcome, and today we're going to talk about sound quality. And I want to let you know right at the beginning, it's not always about the equipment that you have. A lot of times it has to do with how you set up your guitar and how you play it. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about equipment too. So let me get my my notes up here. This week, Colin from the UK asked me, how did you get that lovely tone, please? Well, he was talking about my electric guitar, this one right here. It's my Yamaha electric. Let's see, what's 120 SD. I bought it back in the early 90s. And it was back, I did the video of Baby I'm a Want You guitar lesson. The link is in the description so that you can look at it and you can go there and listen to what my guitar sounds like. And he was talking about what the electric guitar sounds like. Now I'm going to talk about the electric guitar. I'm also going to talk about some acoustic guitars because it's all related. Now I used my electric guitar in that video because David Gates used an electric guitar in a live performance that I was studying. So that's what I did. I used an electric guitar. The tone itself is a combination of guitar settings, strings, EQ settings when you have an electric guitar or when you're going through an amplifier. But really, if you have problems with your tone or your tuning, the first thing I always check is my strings. So new strings really help. This guitar right here, my Baby Taylor, that one right there. Let me get it down and I'll show it to you. Now this guitar, when I play this guitar and I tune it up, and here, let me get, I'm going to tune it up really quick here. Last time I played it was yesterday. I always tune my guitar every time I pick it up if I want to be serious. So if I tune up my guitar and I'm playing, now I'm not plugged in to this guitar. You can only hear it through this mic. My electric guitar I have plugged into my system, so it's a little bit louder. But when this starts to get out of tune, the first thing I do is change strings. And that fixes most all the problems that we have. The setup on the guitar is really, really important. There's the nut right here, and there's also the bridge. Now on an acoustic guitar, what happens is that you have no way to adjust the bridge back and forth like you do on an electric guitar. We'll talk about that more in a second. But the height of the bridge can be adjusted. The height of the nut slots can be adjusted. And the neck can be adjusted because on every guitar, there's right here, can you see that hole right there? On every guitar, well, not every guitar, but a lot of guitars, especially steel string guitars, have what we call a truss rod. And the truss rod runs up in the neck, underneath the neck. And you can tighten or loosen the truss rod to change the neck angle a little bit. And a lot of times when I'm working with a new student and I'm working with a guitar that doesn't sound very good, the first thing we look at are the strings. Are they really old? Do we need new strings? Another thing I look at is the nut height. On a lot of inexpensive guitars, cheap guitars, the nut will not be filed. And so the nut height on these strings will be too high. And when you start playing, it will be out of tune. And so just adjusting the nut height right here, making sure that that nut height is correct, then, and it's close. I'm not going to talk about exactly how to do that at this moment, but when that nut height is correct, then your guitar is more in tune. Also, when your truss rod and your neck is fairly straight, and it can change for different guitars, if that's set properly, then your guitar is going to play more in tune also. So that's really important. So that's part of the setup on the guitar. Now on an intonation, let me bring my other guitar back here for a second. I'm going to put my headphones on again. And let me look at the chat, see if there's any comments yet. Dwayne says, I have a Baby Taylor, not my favorite. Same here. I got the Baby Taylor back in 1999, I think it was. And I was working at a guitar store down in St. George, Utah, and they had one there. So I got the guitar, and it doesn't play exactly in tune the way I like. It's a great travel guitar. It's a great guitar to teach with. When students have smaller guitars, a lot of time I'll pull the Baby Taylor out and teach with that. Kind of matches their guitar. But as far as recording goes, I don't usually record with that at all. I did, I think, one video with my Baby Taylor once, but it's not where I normally go. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, intonation. On an electric guitar, you have the ability to move these bridge pieces back and forth. And so there's a screw adjustment right there, and you can move them. And intonation is really important. What's interesting about intonation is that, okay, that's a little flat. I'll bring it up a little bit. Okay, there. Now that's flat. Let me get out my other tuner here. This is has a mic on it. And let's see here. I'm actually using Strobosoft by Peterson. It's not picking it up very well. I'll have to look at my other tuner. That one's flat. That one looks good. Now, normally when I check the intonation and adjust the intonation, actually every time I do it, I'm going to use new strings. These are not new strings. Those look good. That looks good. And that looks good. I don't know why my low E string is flat. It's flat quite a bit. That one's sharp. That one's fine. I'm just going up the neck. E, F, G, A, B. The A was flat. The B is flat. The C is flat. The D is flat. Flatter. The E is flat. And so, you know, I need to do some work on this. The first thing I would do, though, would be to change my strings and then check it again. The next thing I would do is make sure that the height of the strings is good. I know that my nut height is good because that I've checked that before and I've had that taken care of. And also I would change the bridge pieces if there's a problem. After I change my strings, I don't do that before. So let's see. Let's talk about, well, the acoustic guitar, when I was talking about nut height and truss rod under the neck, those kinds of things can affect the intonation of an acoustic guitar. You can't do much about the bridge because you can't move it anywhere. If it's a decent guitar, then it should play pretty in tune. So anyway, let's go on to, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the electric guitar. On an electric guitar, you have the volume control, you have a tone control, and you have controls with pickups. So I've got my back pickup. I'm going to use a pick. There's my back pickup. It's called the bridge pickup. Here's my neck pickup. Can you hear the difference there? That one is brighter. And then the middle position for this particular guitar gives me both pickups at the same time. Kind of a hybrid sound between the bridge pickup and the neck pickup. I use that setting a lot because I like it. And my tone control is wide open and my volume control is wide open at the moment. Let me show you what I use. I've got a picture of the 3 different kinds of effects pedals that I'm using right now on this particular guitar. I'm going to take off. Okay, there. Now I'm not using any effects pedals. And let me show you a picture. Okay, the first effects pedal that I'm using in line is this equalizer. It's a GE7, and I've got it off right now. I'm going to turn it on. There's a little bit of a volume boost, and you'll notice that I've got the highs rolled off a little bit, and the mids are boosted right around 800, so it has a little curve in it. The 100 is basically flat at 0. Then I've got the 200 boost a little bit, 400 a little bit more, 800 a little bit more, and back down to 1.6K, 3.2K at 0, and the 6.4K backed off a little bit. And my volume level is at 1. I took a picture of this just a little while ago, so this is exactly what I'm doing. So here it is without it again, and turned on. The next pedal that I'm using is a ditto looper, but it is basically just going through. There's nothing, it doesn't do anything to the sound. I've got this particular sound, this chord progression, programmed into the ditto looper right now. Okay, so that's my ditto looper. But it's not doing anything. And the next thing I have is a Hall of Fame 2, which is a reverb unit from TC Electronic. And right now, I do not have the Hall of Fame 2 on. These are my settings that I have right now on this, and here's what it sounds like. You'll notice at the bottom left it says level. That's where I've got it. On the right-hand side, it says church, and there are different kinds of reverbs. Room reverb, hall, spring plate, church. The church is a little more spacious. I like that one a lot. Upper left, it says decay. I've got the decay at about 10 o'clock, and that's about how much I like right now. And it says short. Pre-delay is short. There's a little switch there. And my tone is at about 11 o'clock. So that's what I'm using for my tone. Now here's the Hall of Fame 2 turned off. And turned back on. Now these are just pictures that I'm showing you. This is not a live look at exactly what it looks like. The light comes on when I turn it on. I like that sound. I like that spacious sound that a little bit of reverb gives. A lot of times when I'm teaching, the sound that I'm using is very clean, even when I'm working on something that has distortion in it, you know. If I'm using that with distortion, I don't have a distortion pedal on right now, so I can't show you what it sounds like with distortion, but a lot of times I will work with clean sounds to clean up my playing and then kick in the distortion later when I know that I've got it dialed in. Okay, so let's see, let's go on to the next thing I want to talk about. Oh yeah. Well, you've got your tone settings. When you roll off your volume control, it's not always a linear from high to low. It doesn't always do a linear thing. This is not an active setup in here. It's a passive setup. So when you have it on 10, all of the tones are coming through. It's like a hose, when you squeeze a hose and you restrict the water flow. Well, what you're doing when you're turning down one of these pots is that you're restricting, as you turn it down, you're restricting the signal flow. And the same thing happens with the tone knob. And so a lot of times I will use the tone knob completely open. Here it is completely down. Now that's the center pickup, both at the same time. And here it is all the way to 10. Here's the back pickup, the bridge pickup, and the tone knob all the way down. I don't really like that sound because it sounds like a do. It sounds covered. But I might like it rolled off a little bit. There's 5. Depending on what I'm doing. Okay, here's the bridge on the neck pickup. Tone all the way down. Hear that? It's really covered. There it is all the way up. There's both pickups at the same time, rolled off. I'm not really in love with that sound. It sounds kind of funny. It sounds like I'm in a tunnel or something. It sounds, when I roll this off and I have both of the pickups engaged, it sounds like I'm getting more from the back pickup. I don't know, it's a funny sound. Now, of course, I can change the EQ, and if I'm going through an amplifier, I can change the settings on the amplifier. I usually start with a flat setting. That means everything is 0, or, yeah, if it says 1 to 10 on your treble, mids, and bass, or whatever it is that you've got on your amplifier, start on 5, everything on 5. And then you roll off or boost whatever you want. So you've got those settings too. Now, another thing you can do when you're working with tone is not just the stuff that you're doing like this. What you do with your left hand and what you do with your right hand has a lot to do with tone. I'm going to read you a poem at the end of this live stream, and it has to do with tone, and maybe you'll like it. So just wait around and I'll read that poem to you. It's very interesting. So now you don't want to turn the knobs like on an EQ setting or a distortion or any kind of an effect pedal. You don't want to just turn them all the way up or all the way down and just run them that way all the time. You want to you want to turn it all the way up and see what it sounds like when it's all the way up or all the way down. That's fine. But also what you want to do is you want to make little incremental settings, so you can find out where the sound is that you want. A lot of times you just have to make a little bit of adjustment and it'll just settle in really nicely. Let's see. So we talked about amps. I'm reading my notes here. All right. Let's talk about left hand, because, a lot of times I can pick up somebody's guitar and play it differently than they can. A lot of times my students will be playing their guitar and I'm thinking, that sounds terrible. You know what I mean? Especially with a beginning guitar player that's never played before. They'll pick it up and they'll start playing, and a lot of times the sound won't be very pleasant. It will sound terrible. And I'll say to them, let me see your guitar for a second. Now I'll make sure that it's tuned and I'll start playing. And if my playing sounds a lot better than their playing, I realize it's not the guitar's fault. It's the way that they are actually playing the guitar, what they're doing. you know, your placement on the strings. A lot of times if you're playing, let's see, if you're playing a note, if you're too far away from the fret, you're not going to get a clean tone. You have to be close to the fret. Right? And when you're playing bar chords and things like that, to get a really clean tone, you have to work on that. You have to work on, and also not just where your fingers are, but where the guitar is in relation to your body, right? Because sometimes for certain bar chords, like this one here, the B flat bar chord, I bring the guitar back like this. If I have it out too far this way, you know, I can't play it very well. So if you watch a guitar player and they're playing, see what I did there? Kind of rolled into it, right? So that I can get this F major bar chord a little bit cleaner. If it's too far out like this, it's not going to work very well. It's going to be very uncomfortable. So I bring the guitar up, I lean into it, right? Get it closer to my body. Right there, you'll notice that I brought the guitar back a little bit. That's so that I can get right there, you'll notice that I brought the guitar up a little bit this way so that the guitar is in a different position. Up here, down here. So left hand position is really, really important. Now here's a loop that I did. Just a little while ago, I was practicing some tones, and your left hand is really important, and your right hand is really important. Now I can play with my fingers. And a lot of times I will get a darker sound if I use the fleshy part of my thumb. If I use my fingernail, I'm actually palm muting a little bit too here. Let me try not to palm mute. Okay, so here's the fleshy part of my thumb. And here's my fingernail. Here's a pick. I'm going to try a pick. I'm going to use the rounded edge. The pointy edge is facing this way, but I'm not going to use that. Listen to this. I'm playing the same thing so you can hear it. Now I'm going to use the pointy end of the pick. Hear the difference? Rounded edge again. Fingernail on my thumb. No fingernail. Right? So all of these have, they have attack differences. The attack is the first sound you hear. And also, when you start to set the string in motion, it'll stay the same sound quality all the way through. Here's the pick again. Here's the pointy end. Here's my fingernail. See that? Also, and this has to do with the way you set the string in motion. If you strum it down, right? As opposed to up. Excuse me. If you pluck it, right? I'm just pulling the string now. See that? I'm setting the string in motion here. Here are the differences in how I'm hitting the string, and also where you hit the string. Is it right here in this section? Is it on the neck itself? Is it back here by the bridge? Check this out. I'm going to use my pick again. Now I'm going to move over here and over here by the bridge. I'm using the same rounded edge here on my pick. So all of these things have, all of these different parameters affect your sound. Now these are extremes, really. Down here by the bridge, right? You can hear it's really kind of, what's the word that I want? Bright, brittle. Over here. Oops, getting more brittle. Right over the bridge pickup. Right in back of the bridge pickup. So these sounds right? All of those sounds are really important. Let's go to Dwayne says, I found a cork pick once and that was a really muted effect. Let's see. Hard to tune. Oh, he's talking about the Baby Taylor. Dwayne says hard to tune and keep in tuned, and keep tuned. Highly overrated for a Taylor. Yeah, I've found on the Baby Taylor, I've found that you got to have really good strings on there. I've tried 11s and 12s, and I prefer 12s on my Baby Taylor for some reason. Oh, I also use 13s. I'm just looking over there. I've got some 13s, Diodario 13s, that I've used on the Baby Taylor, and I like those. And yes, different kinds of picks, different material for the picks. And Bob says, there's 13 people watching. It's okay to join in the chat and say hi. Yes, if you're in the chat, it looks like there's 8 people that have liked the video. Thank you very much. And if you're here, say something in the chat. We'd love to talk to you. It's just Dwayne and Bob right now, as far as I can see. I know Dean will not be here today. He's got some stuff going on. He emailed me a little while ago and said, I can't make it today. I said, okay, no problem. Thanks for being here. Oh, by the way, he says to everyone, happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and you'll see us in a couple weeks. So what's happening is that we're talking about tone quality and how to strike your strings and how to do this. It's really, really important. How you attack your strings on the right hand and what you do on your left hand has more to do with your sound than anything else. That is where I focus first. And that's why when I'm playing with electric guitar and distortion, I turn the distortion completely off. I turn the effects completely off. Everything. There, I just turned everything off. I turned my equalizer off. I turned my my reverb unit off. Right? And I want to be able to make sure that what I'm playing sounds really good to my ear. And of course the settings that I'm using. And then when I kick in, here's my EQ again. Right? I will change my settings as I go along, depending on what I want to hear. Let's see. So, okay, let's go back to my notes. Let me go look at my notes again. Let's see. You know what? When I studied classical guitar back in, I think it was like 1987, 1988, something like that, that's when I really became aware of how you strike the string with your fingers. Now, I do have a couple of playlists that have finger picking, teach you finger picking, there's one called Finger Picking 101, one of my videos. And what you do, and I teach you a little bit about hand position and that kind of thing, and how to strike the strings and how to release the strings and that kind of thing. This kind of technique has everything to do with tone, and that's why I talk about it. Now, you can play the guitar any way you want. I don't really care. You can play it with 2 fingers if you want to do your finger picking, with 2 fingers. You can do it with 3 fingers, 5 fingers, whatever you want to do. Some people, they get used to doing something one way, using 2 fingers or 3 fingers, and they never step out of that. I guess that's okay. When I started taking classical guitar lessons, I did not know how to finger pick, and my teacher, his name was Joe, and he said to me, "You're doing it all wrong. You're holding your guitar wrong. We need to change the way you're doing that." And so he taught me the way he thought was really good. And because I have a lot of respect for classical guitar players, and he was a pretty good classical guitar player, I listened to him and I worked on changing my positioning, my hand position in left hand. And of course, classical guitar, we do this. We do it this way. And I have classical guitar right back there. Right there. That one. And that's the one I started working with. And of course, and you can use this kind of classical guitar position on any guitar. It doesn't matter. And you can use classical guitar hand position too. I know that classical guitarists, they play extremely fast. They're amazing. And jazz guitarists. And so when you imitate those kinds of people, your favorite guitarists, then you're gonna be better. You're gonna be more like them. And that's important. So it took me some time to be able to do that. Also, sometimes people say, "Oh, I can't do that," and so they don't even go there. When you know you can't do something and you try something and it doesn't work, that means you just need to work on it. So I only have one more thing to talk about, I think, and that has to do with recording yourself and listening. And you can imagine that I'm constantly recording myself and listening to myself, because when I edit videos or review a video that I've been editing, I make changes to my tone sometimes and settings. Sometimes I'm really blown away at how good something sounds. Sometimes I'm shocked at how it doesn't sound that great. Sometimes I let it slide for a certain video and then make changes later for the next video. But I'm always doing that, and you can do the same thing. We all have phones like this. A lot of people do, right? In fact, probably more people than anybody else. I mean, we have these little phones, and we have cameras on them. We can record ourselves, especially the video portion of it. And you can listen to yourself and you can look at yourself and decide if you like the way you look, if you like the way you sound. Of course, the sound on something like this, when you listen back, you're not going to hear the low tones, and you're not going to get really good sound recording from that kind of a microphone or speakers. So I would advise you to get something good if you want to be serious about listening to good sound. And I'm just looking up at my shelf there. I do have an old Tascam recorder that I have. It's kind of expensive. It was like $500. And I use it a lot of times because it has different speakers on it. Different microphones on it, like 2 microphones that are set like that. Let me go grab it really quick. This was my first recorder that I got, digital recorder. It's a Roland R26. It's really nice. I think it was like $500 when I bought it years ago. Still works fantastic. I use it to record my amplifier when I'm playing through that. I just put it up there. Or if I'm in a setting where, you know, there's a band or something and you get a stereo recording, that's really cool. There are also cheaper options out there, and you can find them. And those are fine too. And when they have microphones on them here, and they're recording, and you can do MP3s or you can do WAV files. I love WAV files because WAV files are higher quality. I don't like MP3s very much. And if I do an MP3, it's usually at the highest quality. Otherwise, it doesn't sound very good. So anyway, that's what I have for you. By the way, last time I talked about my favorite stand, which is a portable music stand. You can see the link in the description and go see what that is. And my affiliate link, you can support the channel by getting one of those if you want. Also, you can become a patron of my channel at Patreon. You can become a subscriber at Subscribestar. You can make a donation at PayPal, and I will put you on my email list. I can put you on my email list anytime. That's fine. I have a poem that I want to read to you, and this has to do with tone quality, and it's really true about a master who is, when you are a master at an instrument, you can make an instrument sound better. And it goes like this. Maybe you've heard this poem before. 'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it was hardly worth his while to waste his time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. "What am I bid, good people?" he cried. "Who starts the bidding for me? $1? $1. Do I hear two? $2. Who'll make it $3? $3 once, $3 twice. Going for $3, but no." From the room far back, a gray bearded man came forward and picked up the bow. Then wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening up the strings, he played a melody, pure and sweet as the angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, "What now am I bid for this old violin?" as he held it aloft with its bow. 1,000. 1,000. Do I hear two? 2,000. Who makes it $3? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice. Going and gone, said he. The audience cheered, but some of them cried, "We just don't understand. What changed its worth?" Swift came the reply. The touch of the master's hand. And many a man with life out of tune, all battered and bruised with hardship, is auctioned cheap to a thoughtless crowd, much like that old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game as he travels on. He is going once, he is going twice, he is going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd never can quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that is wrought by the touch of the master's hand. That poem is by Myrna Brooks Welch. And it's really true when you have an instrument that is played by a master. I'm not saying that I'm a really amazing master, but I like the way I play the guitar, and I hope that you like the way you play the guitar. And if you don't, work on those things that will help you to improve your tone. Thanks for watching. I love you all, and we'll talk to you later, okay? Oh, let's do that again.